Hi there, everyone. It's Rob Ryder. Today, church militant versus church state, exposing the sinful nature of the professional state actors. We're surrounded by them. They have license, right? They're professionals, and they use their license for private gain. So, what does that have to do with the church and the state and being a militant of the church? Well, that's what the video will be about. And if you've not watched my videos before, I have my own areas of expertise that I talk about, and I wanted to share that expertise with an organization called Church Militant. Here's a website, Church Militant, right, which is a Catholic-based website, that is constantly pointing out the sins of the church as need to be done. And they put Michael Vorse from Church Militant puts on this thing called The Vortex every day on YouTube. And here recently he had put one on about, it's called It's Coming Down to This. It's February 14th, 2020. We're not going to watch this now. You watch it yourself later. But it was an interview between him and a parishioner at a church that had filed a lawsuit against an entity claiming to be whatever they're claiming to be, the Archdiocese of Detroit, whatever the proper name is. And these are details we'll get into in a minute, because that's where the devil's in the details when we start talking about things. But so anyways, I had done this video, and they were nice enough to put the court paperwork on the website, and I've copied it. And if you have followed my videos, you know me. I like to go through court papers and find the things that people do wrong. I'd like to look at any of the forms that they do, whatever their process is, and look for the things that they do wrong. So instead of you defending yourself about what they say you did, you would be instead pointing out their crimes to them, and they don't really have any authority to bother you. All right, that's part of my philosophy in this journey I've been on for many years, and this is like the first video of mine that you've watched. I have lots of them on Rob Ryder, ROBBB, RYDER, like 350-ish. And, so I suggest you go here to my website and you search by upload date and, really pay attention to what I'm doing now. And, for interest, if you want to go look through them to see if something speaks to you, be my guest. But here in the last couple of years, they've been almost all about things to do with the military, because I'm a veteran. Things to do with the Congress, because they've taken an invalid oath of office. Things to do with the president, because, where was that one at? Donald John Trump in 3 USC 19. Right, Donald John Trump could be the president of the United States, but he's not qualified yet because he hasn't taken proper oaths of office. And that kind of stuff is, it's a big deal with somebody like me. I'm, in the military, and I understand that the United States is at war right now. But what you don't understand, you may understand that too, but what you may not understand is that we've been at war since 1861, and we're under martial law. And that's why there's these gold fringed flags all over the place. And so you may hear a lot of things in my videos that you've never heard before, but it doesn't make them any less true. So where are we going to start? Because there's, it's a lot of, I'm trying to introduce. See, I've talked about the church and the state before in videos, but I've not talked about it in this particular manner. And so if you're from the church coming here because of things I'm going to say about this court case and so forth, and somebody said, hey, you need to watch this dude's video, well, prepare to be amazed. So we're going to expose the sinful nature of professional state actors on Tuesday, February 18th, 2020. My avatar is Rob Ryder, and my email address is courtofrecord@aol.com. AOL.com. Phone number is 616-712-6179. But you can call me a Christy Fidelis Lackey. If somebody could tell me how you properly say that, I'd much appreciate it. Christy Fidelis Lackey, which is actually a lay member of Christ Faithful People. Robert Allen Michael Ratluski 10955, 14 Mile Road Northeast, Rockford, Michigan, 49341. And of course, hey, that's my confirmation name. Now, if I was just using my legal name, I would take it out and it would look like that. That's my legal name. But for today, as we got the church involved, and I do have a Christian name registered with the church, I'm putting it back in there. Okay, so let's begin, right? So where are we now? So Church Militant, these people here, right, churchmilitant.com, have a website that talks about all things Catholic and all the sins in the Catholic Church. They don't hesitate to bring them out, and they do. And Michael Vorst does a thing called the Vortex, talking about this court case. And lo and behold, if you looked hard enough, you could find that they had done it, and we're going to look at it. So the thing that I do, though, is, forget what they say. I'm going to show you what this document says. So if you went to and found this, it was to be the state of Michigan in circuit court for the county of Wayne, right? This is supposed to be a complaint filed by these plaintiffs against this defendant or defendants, right, by some attorney for some civil action. Here's the complaint, the blah, 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 blah. And eventually, what these things do is they get down to a final couple pages where they're going to give the counts. Everything before that is the facts, and now we'll get down to the counts, and one count is intentional infliction of emotional distress, and another one is fraud. Well, fraud's criminal. I don't think he can sue for fraud civilly. But nevertheless, that's what James Verschelli is going to try to do. In the names of, that's just it. Who are these people? Because truthfully, this whole document is what would be called a simulated legal process, done under color of law, and truly it violates your civil rights under 18 USC, United States Code 231, 232. Go look those up. Right? Plaintiffs. Because I'm going to tell you what's happening in this document. And it isn't anything like it should be. Because the proper name of the court for the county of Wayne, let's stop for a second. Now, so is the county of Wayne called the county of Wayne, or is it Wayne County? Right? It can only be one or the other. Is it Wayne County, Michigan, or is it County of Wayne, State of Michigan? Because this says it's the State of Michigan. The State of Michigan isn't really the name of the government. The name of the government is either the State of Michigan with a T capitalized, or it's Michigan. Like on the Constitution of Michigan, where it says Constitution of Michigan, 1963. It doesn't say Constitution of the State of Michigan. No, it just says Constitution of Michigan. So the proper name of the court for Wayne County, Michigan is called the Third Judicial Circuit Court of Michigan. It says so on the, that's the name on the very first page of the website for the Third Judicial Circuit Court of Michigan. So there really isn't a court case in state of Michigan in the circuit court for the county of Wayne, at least in any kind of constitutional court, because that isn't the name of the court. Now, there could be a court in the state of Michigan in the circuit court for the county of Wayne if the county of Wayne is some kind of voluntary association of persons that has their own bylaws and their own charter, and they say this is the way we're going to handle our business, and if you're a member, then you agree to the terms. Well, that is, what that is then is some kind of association set up by attorneys who also have the state bar, which by making this overall association called the State of Michigan with all these franchises called counties of, right, created this large association in which the court, if you go to the state website, says there shall be one court of justice in Michigan. And under Talmudic law, Talmudic law says there has to be a court of justice. So a court of justice is actually a Talmudic law court. This Third Judicial Circuit Court is actually a military court. Because when you go into the court, there'd be gold fringed flags there. They're in all the courtrooms. Well, a gold fringed flag, as I'll show you, is a militarized, only as far as I know, used by the Army, flag of our nation. And so wherever it is signifies that's where the Army is. And there's a regulation that says where they can be at, and we'll get into that. But let's get back to this first, because that's what I'm saying. There's so many pieces of coming from all over, and I have to try to tie together in this octopus of information, and you're going to have to go watch this video a couple times to probably have any idea what I'm talking about. Doesn't make it any less true, though, because you see all these names here for these plaintiffs. Well, none of these are these people's legal names, right? I'm sure that almost all these people have some kind of middle name. That's what they call it, middle name. But really, it's part of your given name, and it's part of your legal name. It's your identity. So under these names here, none of these people would be able to get on an airplane today, because as of January 1st, 2020, the Real ID Act kicked in, and you have to have an ID that has a little gold star in the upper right-hand corner, or you can't get on a frickin' airplane. Commercial airplane. Right? And if you look at the name on those style of cards, that has your full legal name. Mine's Robert Allen Ritluski. Right? To be used in legal matters. Well, I thought we're going to court. That would make this legal. And so all these people should be identified in their legal name if they're actually being identified as a person. Because if Marie Dew had a middle name, then anybody else who was a Marie Dew is in this group of Marie Dews, because we haven't identified them down to their middle name. And even that isn't enough. I mean, to authenticate your identity, you have to have your identity, Robert Allen Ritluski, and then something to authenticate it by, like a social security number, right? Or a driver's license, or some driver's license number, or some other number that ties you and that particular name together, because one identity isn't enough, right? That's the way it is in the military, man. You got to have authentication. And we're under a military government. All right, so as we'll see, that these aren't persons, but what it is a thing, right? Some kind of legal fiction. And it's created and owned by the attorney for the plaintiff. So it's not individual persons as the plaintiffs. It's a thing created by the attorney for the plaintiff, and he's its owner. So, he's just taking ownership of this court case and having somebody else pay for it. But, whatever comes out of it's his. So if he can go cut a deal now, well, let's not get into that. We'll get into cutting the deal, right? We'll get to that in a minute. Now let's go look at the defendants. The defendant is G. Michael Begarin, and the Roman Catholic Archbishop of the Archdiocese of Detroit, an ecclesiastic entity. Now remember, an attorney is writing this up. The plaintiffs have apparently hired this attorney because he says he's the attorney for the plaintiffs. So he's picked the names of these entities, and, well, G. Michael Begarin is no person's legal name, because you can't use an initial in a legal name. And here in a bit, I'll show you where it comes from. We're going to go look at the law. I will leave no stone unturned to show you exactly where all this stuff comes from. It just takes a while to do, right? And so bear with me. It may take me a bit, but we'll get there. And so then the Roman Catholic Archbishop of the Archdiocese of Detroit, well, that's not registered with the corporate division of Michigan. So it's not a Michigan ecclesiastical entity, right? A corporation. It's not the name that's in the official Catholic directory. So it's not registered in Michigan, and it's not in the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops directory, which lists all the property that falls under the USCCB, which, is pretty much everything. So I don't know who they are, but plaintiffs, you should be going and asking your attorney, well, what's this place address? Because, who are they? I'd like to know. I want to know who they are. Find out who they are. Find their address. Ask your attorney. Now, how about him? Well, let's look at this real quick. So, we won't get to him yet. But this says it's state of attorney, state of Michigan in the circuit court for the county of Wayne. There's no case number on it, right? No legal names for these persons. They're a thing. And if we rotate the document and look again, it says, some number. I don't know if that no goes with filed, but it sure looks like it. No filed. Right? 20-001579-no filed. In my office. Kathy M. Garrett, Wayne County Clerk. Well, it didn't go into court. Right? I know the same person has both offices, but it just said it went into the Wayne County Clerk's office. Not filed in the court. Filed with the county clerk. And this is, this is a pattern of what they do. They don't ever do anything right. It's all done as a simulated legal process. This is just attorneys doing what attorneys do. They lie, cheat, and steal. They're the children of the devil. Jesus said so, right? He woed them. Right? All them people, all these professionals, the tax collectors, the Pharisees, the scribes, the Nicolaitans, the attorneys, the high priest, right? They're all professionals. They have license to do what they do, and they use their license for their own private gain, and they have to do that by lying, cheating, and stealing. But they still have a license, and you don't. So from the beginning, they get the benefit of the doubt. Now this here says a civil action between other parties arising out of this transaction. Occurrence alleged and complaint has been previously filed in this court and was given this other number. So apparently there's another court case. And assigned to Judge Dana M. Hathaway. Well, you can't use a middle initial in your name, right? So if you went to the county clerk's office, Wayne County Clerk, to the elections division, you could ask for Dana M. Hathaway, judge's oath of office. And they would give you a copy, and when you saw it, it would have this with the middle initial. It would be Dana M. Hathaway. But Dana M. Hathaway doesn't exist. That isn't her legal name. You can't use that name in a legal matter, so you can't use it on an oath of office. Now, I'm a veteran of the enlisted corps, right? Staff Sergeant, United States Army. And I took an oath of enlistment, and we didn't use a middle initial. We used our full legal name. I state your name. I, Robert Allen Ritlewski, da-da-da-da-da. They put it on a form, make you sign to it. They sign to it. Well, when these other people do oaths of office, other than the military, they just simulate doing them. There's none of them that are done legally. And that includes this attorney. So let's talk about this brother. James Verichetti, right, who's pretending to represent some Catholics at a diocese that are trying to protect their parish priest from an unjust court case, which is this other court case we're talking about, it must be. So that's not his full legal name. And the way you would find out, so this is what you need to do, right, plaintiffs, is go tell this attorney you want him to go to the Michigan Supreme Court and get his certificate of good standing and give it to you. Right? The Michigan Supreme Court has a thing called the roll of attorney, and they will provide these documents called certificates of good standing. So that name that you get on the certificate of good standing for this attorney is the name that he's licensed to practice in. And it won't be James Verichetti. Right? It's going to have a middle name. I mean, if he has one, it will be there. I'm believing that there is, right? And how do you know for sure? Well, just ask him for the certificate. I'll show you where that comes from. Anyways, so all these people here, right? The TSA will not let you on an airplane under this style of name. You need to use your full legal name. And if it makes you feel better, right, it isn't just you in this court case. They do this all the time to everybody in any kind of court case. But it isn't just court cases that this style of deceit is limited to. It's done in everything. So here's another court case, right? This one says it's the United States of America acting through Rural Housing Service or successor agency, United States Department of Agriculture. That's the plaintiff. Versus Jacqueline V. Veazey, a.k.a. Jacqueline Victoria Veazey, a.k.a. Jacqueline Veazey, right? Then you come to an apostrophe or a semicolon. So this is, supposed to be the name of a defendant. Well, it really isn't anybody's name. I mean, Jacqueline Victoria Veazey is the lady's name, but I'm not even sure that they spelt it right here. I don't think the E is supposed to be in there, right? That they purposely misspelled her name. And they have all these other entities that are supposed to be defendants, but they're all just legal fictions. Even the things that appear to name a bank or United States of America or whatever it is, they're not using the full legal name. They're making up legal fictions. Now, this is a foreclosure going on in Florida. This is how silly this is, right? This is a foreclosure going on in Florida. Well, why is the United States of America suing in a frickin' state court? They have their own courts, right? If the United States of America has beef against you, they will come to you by the federal court. That's just evidence that this entity here, the plaintiff, really isn't the government. It's a thing created by the attorneys that they're going to use as their shield, basically, to try to cut some deal against all these other entities to make the thing go away under alternative dispute resolution and never ever get to trial. Right? They're taking us to ADR somehow without us knowing it by the way that they're handling these, because this isn't a constitutional court, right? This is a private court. Well, all a private court could do is have some kind of administrative arbitration powers or alternative dispute resolution powers. So, what else can I tell you about that? That's what's going on. This is a simulated legal process under federal law, and this attorney here should be arrested because he's practicing law, not using his full legal name. And the judge should be arrested because she's practicing law without using her full legal name. Because she's really not a judge, right? She's an enemy of the United States. She filed a counterfeit oath of office. She's not a judge. She's an enemy of the United States. I swore an oath to uphold the Constitution of the United States, then she's my enemy. But she did it to herself. Okay, I want to show you another one. So here's another. Oh, no, where wasn't it? Where's the other one at? Okay, here's one that says it's the state of Georgia. This is another civil case, right? CV, civil, where the defendant is marijuana plants and weapons. And all this stuff was part of the story of my last video I did, where they confiscated all these weapons. A group of people pretending to be law enforcement officers that aren't connected to the sheriff's department, assumed they had authority to take somebody's herb, which is, given as food according to the Bible. It's the very first page. It's on the same page where God made the heaven and earth. He gave all green plants with seeds as food to all the critters on the earth, including man. It's food. It's not marijuana. He called it herb. So, this is the thing. This is, none of these are people either. This list of defendants right here is really no different than this list of plaintiffs. just a bunch of words put together that are things, and somebody's going to claim the things and then say that they're representing the plaintiff because the plaintiff can't represent itself. It's a thing. Needs an attorney. And when you go to their courts, you have to have an attorney. You can't be yourself. You need to be represented because you're going there as a thing. It's a Talmudic law court. It's a court of justice. So, okay, hang on just a second, and we'll get on to the next part of this because there's plenty more to tell you. Hang on. Okay, so more on that court case as it unfolds, right? But that was just me taking the document, looking at it, and saying, well, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong, this is wrong. And I've been working at this for a number of years now, so I'm really good at it. Well, that's just the latest thing I did. I've done many other things, and so this is what I was trying to get a hold of Church Militant about. And I had sent them an email about the USCCB, which is the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, is an agent of the United States, which it is, and we'll talk about that in a minute, and examples of counterfeit oaths of office, and the fact that, there's people in Congress are impersonators, and they say that we are, right, they're really not holding any offices in Congress, but there they are, and they say that we're governed by the Noahide laws. Right? So, my point in telling you all this is that that whether you like it or not, or I like it or not, the Constitution has been suspended. And the United States is at war. It has been at war. And we're under martial law. We have been since 1861. In 1861, Lincoln declared martial law. And upon declaring martial law, the Lieber Code goes into effect. And under Article 2 of the Lieber Code, it says once martial law has been declared, it can only be stopped by a special proclamation from the Commander-in-Chief. So it had to be in the name of the Commander-in-Chief, not President or Governor, but Commander-in-Chief. And or a peace treaty. Well, neither of those things have happened since the Civil War. So we've been under domestic war. And in 1918, with the beginning of the First World War, all of the Christian churches and a Jewish association and some others became agents of the wartime government by being commissioned by the Department of War. And that's what the USCCB really is it's what's left of what was called the National Catholic War Council. And the Protestants had a group, and the Jews had a group, and they all got a commission from the War Department, and well, that war's never ended, so that commission is ongoing. This is why they have gold fringed flags in churches and synagogues and stuff, because they're an agent of the wartime government run by the Department of Defense, because everything else is suspended. I'm going to prove it to you. But because I just like to look at deceitful paper, here's another one, right? So the United States of America. Well, that isn't the same as United States of America, like you see on a passport. But it is the same as the name that's used on your money. Right? And so this is a certificate of naturalization that somebody thought they were going to become a citizen of the United States, which is not the same as a U.S. citizen, and it's not the same as an American citizen. Right? Citizen of the United States, with small c, is what the 14th Amendment says. And it's those that are protected by the Constitution. And most people believe that that's what they are, and I'm telling you that nobody is. We're not in the United States. And this certificate is going to show, how they do it. So it's a certificate of naturalization. Right, it's from the Department of Justice. Right, so the United States of America, Department of Justice. It isn't from the district court where people go and believe that they're going to be acknowledged as a citizen of the United States, right? It's not done in the judicial branch, it's done in the administrative branch. But it should have been done in the judicial branch because the law says it's the district court that's supposed to naturalize you, not the frickin' Department of Justice. And if we read this, then, this is, so remember, the top says the United States of America. And Chicago, Illinois is the Attorney General. So Rosita, then residing in the United States, right, just the United States, intends to reside in the United States when so required by naturalization laws of the United States, and in all other respects complied with the applicable provisions of such naturalization laws and was entitled to be admitted to citizenship. Such person having taken an oath of allegiance in a ceremony conducted by the U.S. District Court, Northern District, which isn't the proper name of the United States District Court, right? This is a private court of some kind. It's just renting space at the federal building. At Chicago, that such person is admitted as a citizen of the, lowercase t, United States of America. Right. Well, the 14th Amendment says, that you become a citizen of the United States, not a citizen of the United States of America. United States of America is actually a dominion of King George III and his successors. Oh, where is that at? Where is that at? I've got so many things to show. Treaty. Here we go. Treaty of Peace, 1783, signed in Paris, September 3rd, ratified and proclaimed by the Congress, ratified by Great Britain. Paris got involved. It looks like everybody agreed. And, then we did something. Then we had the War of 1812, and we annulled 8. And supplemented by Convention of January 1802. So they've made some changes. But nevertheless, I didn't do anything to 1. What did it say to begin with? In this treaty that's supposed to be ending the war between, the colonist and the king, between the king and his colonists. What kind of agreement did the king make with his errant colonist? Well, it was in here. And it, having pleased divine providence and dispose the hearts of the most serene and most potent Prince George III, by the grace of God, King of Great Britain, France, Ireland, Defender of the Faith, Duke of Brunswick and Luxembourg, Arch-Treasurer and Prince Elector of the Holy Roman Empire, and whatever CA means, I don't know, and of the United States of America. Right? So you get what I'm saying, right? He says he owns the United States of America. In the Treaty of Peace between them and the United States of America. Or United States of America, right? Said United States. So that's his jurisdiction. And so if you look at a passport, all right, here's mine. It says United States of America. Somehow they put you into King George's jurisdiction, whether you like it or not. Let's call it the democracy. It's the difference between the democracy and the republic. The republic was created under the Articles of Confederation, and it says the style of the Confederation shall be, in quotes, the United States of America, with the T capitalized. Well, that isn't what this says. It says United States of America. So does the cover. And it says Rytlewski, Robert Allen. Well, my name's Robert Allen Rytlewski. Why they got my name backwards? So there's many, errors on this. And, they used to issue your Social Security number with a middle initial instead of using your legal name. I haven't signed this damn thing with my legal name. But I had done videos on this before, and I really believe that if this thing had been done properly, that your name would show up right here in this blank. Right? If you were showing up as a citizen of the United States instead of a citizen of the United States of America. They're not the same. I don't want to beat on this too much. I'm just saying, that this whole system has been set up to take you out of the constitutional protection of being a citizen of the United States under the 14th Amendment, because it's in the 14th Amendment that says citizens of the United States are protected by the Constitution. Right? Whatever they just identified. Not U.S. citizens, not American citizens, not some other title. No, citizens of the United States. Well, Rosita was there, right? She came in. The United States of America is, that's the witness, right? So the Republic is witnessing that she was here in the United States, had done everything she needed to do to be a citizen of the United States, yet she decided to become a citizen of the United States of America because she swore an oath of allegiance at this foreign court, which is renting space at the federal courthouse. Amen. That's how she goes. Okay, I'll get into some other details here. I hope you found that interesting. I mean, if that doesn't get your attention, then quit watching the video. So hang on. Okie dokie. So before we look at some invalid oaths of office, which is the really telling detail, and to show that it isn't just attorneys that lie, cheat, and steal, right? That this is a scheme by people that are professionals. If you were to be the purchaser of a house, or you think that you are, right? And you got a loan, or you think that you did, or you've been told that you did, now you got to pay this thing back. Part of that package of paperwork would be this uniform residential loan application. Right, which is really, I believe, it's through HUD at the end of the day. This is it's a Freddie Mac form, which, got eaten up by somebody else. So it may be a Freddie Mac form, but now the FDIC is responsible, I think, for Freddie Mac. But everybody fills one of these out. It has all sorts of interesting information, which, I've shown in other videos. I really can't go through it again today, but, it shows that you were supposed to have gotten fee simple, title, or interest. Estate to be in fee simple. So whatever estate means, you got it in fee simple. And the borrower, right? Now this should be your full legal name. If it was going to be a legal document, they'd have to use your legal name. And Teresa has a middle name. It's not a middle initial. Her middle name is Lee, L-E-E. But they didn't put that on there. Right? In fact, they have you put that on there. Right? The rest of this was filled out by somebody on a computer, but they intentionally left that line blank, and they let you self-confess to your false identity. And when you look at this thing, it says present address, and it's a P.O. box. They have her presently living in a P.O. box. In other words, she's homeless. The borrower's name, they didn't use her full legal name. Right here, she's Teresa Moore. That's supposed to be the borrower. And up here is the borrower, and it's Teresa Elmore. So she's already lied on the first page. All right, they entrap you by their scheme. It's all part of a scheme. Schemers. And if you go down here far enough, eventually you're going to get, the thing I want to show you, which is on the third page. That forget everything else that they say happened. The bank never signed the paperwork. So there could never have been a loan. Because these papers I'm showing you came from the closing agent given to Teresa when she said, hey, I want a copy of the closing papers. So this is the record that the closing agent has. And the records of the closing agent shows that the lender, right, lender's originating signature isn't on here, or loan originator's signature. So that while they may have talked about this, it was never completed. Right, so there never was a loan. They would have to show you that this had been signed, and then they're going to have to show you that you have a contract, because you're really not doing a contract with these people. They're just the originator. The loan is going to come from, well, hey, they're on another piece of paper. Let me go find that here. Hang on a second. But I want you to see, right, that now You don't have to be in foreclosure for this to be happening to you. It's happening right now. You could go down, if you've bought a house, go to the closing agent and tell them you want a copy of all the documents having to do with your closing, and go find your copy of this. Right? It's called the Fannie Mae Form 1003, Uniform Residential Loan Application. Right? It's incomplete. But I want to show you something else. So hey, forgive my rambling about these things like this, but I'm trying to show you that things are, screwed up all over the place. So, like in this lady's case, this is where she was told to send her payments, right, for whatever she's paying. But this isn't the address that was agreed to on her promissory note. So unless there's some document that they've agreed to change the address, that, it was never agreed to do this. And so you're sending your payments to the wrong address. If they had truly made you a loan, you'd be sending them to the wrong address. But they didn't make you a loan, so they're really happy to have you send your payments to this address. Now, they do the same thing on car loans. If you get your car title, it'll have on there, if you got a loan on it, they'll put a stamp on that says who the first lien holder is. And it'll give the address and everything else. And then you look who you're paying your bill to, they don't match. Probably a slightly different name and certainly a different address. This is what they do. Right? This is how they do it in a real estate transaction. Now, it used to be they gave everybody a thing called a closing disclosure, which, has lots of information on it. But what it shows is who the borrower is and who the lender is. So somewhere there would have to be an agreement signed by the borrower and the lender for there to have been a loan and for it to be a contract that the borrower would be responsible for. But there is no contract between the lender and the borrower, ever. All there is something they call a deed of trust or a mortgage, which is going to have the borrower's name or some version of her name on it. It won't even be exactly like this, right? Because here's supposed to be the borrower. And we'll look at what it is actually in a minute. It'll be like Teresa Elmore, a single woman, borrower. Right? So they create another legal fiction. Remember, this is a legal fiction. Teresa has a middle name, Lee. So they didn't use it. They created a legal fiction. Whether Security National Mortgage Company is a real entity or not is immaterial because they didn't sign the papers anyways, right? So somebody may just be using their name, but they're not going to sign anything. So, it didn't actually happen. But, because I talk about this subject a lot, and I'm sure I'll be talking about it more as I go further down the road. If you can find this document of yours, it shows all the people. Where's the page that shows all the people that are, right here. This shows all the people involved, right? The lender, the mortgage broker, the real estate broker for the buyer, the real estate broker for the seller, and the settlement agent. And all these people together they're all professionals. They have a license to do what they do from the state. And they're abusing their authority in a conspiracy in which they're all schemers to defraud you of your property. So, who's involved? Well, they're all listed on your page 5 of 5 of a closing statement. Okay, let me show you a couple more things real quick, and then we'll get back to what we're really here for. This is really sideshow stuff, but if you come to the carnival, you might as well go down the side and see what else there is. Hang on a minute. So any kind of real estate transaction is going to be some kind of note, right? And this says who the borrower promises to pay, right? So let's stop there. The borrower promises to pay. Well, by making a promise, if you don't fulfill your promise, it doesn't really say why you borrow the money. You just promise to pay it back, right? That's all it's just saying. You promise to pay $151,000. Well, if you break your promise, then under the common law doctrine of assumpsit, you can be taken to court for breaking your promise. And so the way you would get out of that promise, right, this is a private promise made to a private entity that it's like, hey, this is being used as fraud against me because they never really did lend me any money and I promised to make this payment now. Right? In return for a loan received that I have received. But there's no evidence that they lent you any money, right? So what loan? Doesn't matter. You can't prove it. They're saying, hey, you promised to pay, and now they're going to take you to court. But it won't be a Security National Mortgage Company that takes you to court. It'll be somebody else acting as their agent taking you to court. Right? So Security National Mortgage Company could be a lawful company able to do business that doesn't have a damn thing to do with this because somebody's just borrowing their name. Right? Security National Mortgage didn't sign anything. We're just going to use their name and then tell you where to send the payments to. And, you'll be sending them to some place, right? Because they say to send them here. Well, this address is different than the address where, the payment stubs came from. So anybody who bought a house has got some kind of note like this, and this is how they get you. They get you to promise to pay money for something that never really happened because this lender didn't lend you any money. Now, in the Catholic Church, you could go ask for a dispensation for private promises, right, that have been made. And so it's like, well, why can't you go to the Catholic Church and get a dispensation to get out of this note? And say, well, these people never lent you any money. Well, because the people at the church that you're going to go talk to don't have a clue about what you're talking about. So, it's an education thing. Okay, so, and then it was Teresa Moore. She's supposed to be doing this. And then it says, witness the hand and seal of the undersigned. Well, I don't see a hand and seal. Right here's seal. They're just pretending. So that's that document. And the other document everybody has is a thing called a deed of trust or a mortgage, which on here now the borrower just became Teresa Moore, a single woman. All right, so the deed of trust, mortgage, borrower, doesn't match the note borrower. And yet both of these borrowers are legal fictions. They're not Teresa Lee Moore, right? But they both made promises, and they're both going to be tried to be enforced in this court they're going to take you to that is operating under Talmudic law. I wonder what your chances are. Well, they're not very good. And so this is just daily occurrence here in America, right? What the folks in the case that Michael's talking about. Where was that? Right, this here, yeah. This court case that we looked at. It's just another version of the same thing. Okay, hang on. Be back. Okay, just a couple more things about this string of documents because everybody has them, right? This is going on to everybody. Some place called deed of trust, other places it's called a mortgage. But see, now the borrower is Teresa Moore, a single woman. Now, let's go look at the warranty deed. This is the thing that's been recorded, right, in the county. So in Michigan, it's called the Register of Deeds Office. Here it's called the Tule County, it's called the Recorder's Office. But look, it says Tule County Corporation. It doesn't say Tule County, Utah, which is, where you think it is. No, it's being filed into a freaking private corporation. It's like going to a private notary. They're pretending to be the government. See, none of these people are filing the proper oath of office. They're not using their full legal name. They're not doing the oath they're supposed to do to hold the office they would under the Constitution. They're just pretending to. And you are, in their opinion, agreeing to, do business with them because you keep showing up. So in Michigan, it's called a warranty deed too. Some places it's called a grant deed or maybe a security deed or who knows what it is. But it's a thing that the grantor gave it to the grantee, the people selling to the people buying. They don't use buyer and seller. That shit was used on the buy-sell agreement, which is the only real contract of this whole transaction because that's the one that has everybody's signature on it. But this is the document somebody's going to end up filing into this fictitious corporation or into this corporation, pretending to be the government, to convince you that you own the property. But it's a lie, right? Because they never transfer you the legal title, and you're supposed to have estate and fee simple. And an estate and fee simple means you have both the legal and equitable title. Well, you're never going to get the legal title, and you're never going to get the equitable title. They're lying to you from the beginning. Your name isn't on the document, right? Because the deed was made to Teresa Moore, comma, a single woman, which is a fiction. It's not a person. Teresa Lee Moore would be the person. Sidney middle name Ross and Todd middle name Ross would be persons. But this is just Sidney Ross and Todd Ross. That's just a partnership acting as a grantor, another legal fiction. Right? It's all done by legal fiction. And I shown in a previous video that according to the law in Utah, right, that this should be these people's names in their proper names and then their address, grantor, and they convey a warrant to Teresa Lee Moore and her address, grantee, right? This isn't a statutory warranty deed. It's a simulation of one, and that should be a crime. Well, it is, but try to get it enforced. It's hard to do in their system because they run the system. Right? This is a scheme from the top. This is all part of state of, right? You got United States of America, state of, like state of Michigan, state of Ohio, state of Utah, and then county of Kent, instead of being the United States of America, Michigan, Kent County, it's United States of America, County of Kent, State of Michigan. It's all ass backwards. So, it's just, this is how they take people's property, because they don't put your name on it in the first place, and none of this stuff is really in any constitutional governmental office. It's in some private entity's office. Jerry M. Houghton, Recorder, right? That's the name of his business. Okay. We'll continue on. Hang on. Hey, while I'm looking for some papers, if I could get you to stop for just a second, write down my address or my PayPal account, and if you can, please donate. It really helps to pay the bills, and I get to spend more time studying, and these are the things that you only find if you go look for, because no one's going to show them to you. So my mailing address is Robert Allen Retluski. You put Michael in, I guess it doesn't matter, but Robert Allen Retluski, 10955, 14 Mile Road Northeast, Rockford, Michigan, 49341. Check, money order, cash, it all works. Or I have a PayPal account. It's robryder@aol.com. If you wanted to use a credit card and you didn't have a PayPal account, you could email me and ask, and I shall send you an invoice for whatever amount you say through PayPal, and you can use your credit card. So you just have to send me an email. Say, I got a credit card, and I'd like to donate whatever it might be, $20, $50, $100. Be generous. You're using a credit card. It's just plastic. Okay, so good enough. If you wrote that down, we're going to get on to the next part here in just a second and get into why I was really getting a hold of Church Militant in the first place. So hang on just a second. Okie dokie. So, because I can't show everything, doesn't mean I can't show some things, right? So it's really important that you understand this idea about the Gold Fringed Flag, that it's a really big deal, because it's in all the courtrooms you go in, and it's in like county commissioners' offices, and I believe the township has got one, and well, it's in churches, in Catholic churches, in Protestant churches, all sorts of places. Now, there's a theory of thought that, well, that means it's admiralty law. That's an admiralty flag. But that's incorrect. It has nothing to do with the Navy. The Navy doesn't use gold fringed flags. The Army does. Army Regulation 840-10 will tell you everything you need to know about a gold fringed flag on one page. Right? If you want to know more, well, it'll tell you a bunch more, but I don't think you need to know it all. Right? Except that unauthorized use of official flags is verboten, and that's what we're talking about. These are official flags. So, for instance, here's some restrictions. Who can have one? And just to make it easy, right? You have unauthorized use, but there are some that you can. So, educational institutions can use the flag, and so can retired general officers, right? In an official capacity. Doesn't mean you can't have a private, unofficial use, right? But this is official use of a flag. And so, if you see a flag flying in a school, well, that's an official use of the flag. Outside of the normal restrictions, which is basically it's restricted to be used on military posts, right? And then they have all these different kind of flags and so forth. And I don't have time to go through all this again, but what it says. Here we go. So if we go down to this particular version, it's like the 13th page of an 82-page PDF. It will talk about national flags listed below are for indoor display and for use in ceremonies and parades. For these purposes, the flag of the United States will be rayon band or cloth or heavyweight nylon, trimmed on 3 sides with gold yellow fringe 2 1/2 inches wide. If you see a gold fringed flag of the United States, that's what they're talking about. Okay, and then it goes on to say they got these different sizes and where this particular one can be displayed. And then you got a smaller one and where it can be displayed and authorized for indoor display. The flag of the United States is authorized for indoor display for each, right, office, headquarters, organization authorized a positional color, right? So up above, these are all these different places they're talking about. They have a positional color, distinguishing flag, or organizational colors. Organization of battalion size or larger, temporary, permanent, not otherwise authorized flag of the United States. Military offices, not otherwise authorized an indoor flag of the United States for purposes of administering oaths of office. Right? Military offices now, right? Military courtrooms. The U.S. Army element, Joint Command, Joint, subordinate elements, U.S. Army recruiting, ROTC, senior executives. Well, then we run out of places. So those are the places a flag with gold fringe can be displayed in. And one of them is a military courtroom. So you walk into court, there's a gold fringe flag. I'm afraid that's a military courtroom. No way around it. Right? Or it's a military office for use as administering oaths of office, but they say it's a courtroom, so then it's a military courtroom. Or it's a war trophy, and they're, insurgents, and they stole the flag, and that's just a war trophy. But no, it's it's evidence that the United States has jurisdiction there. Now, the United States may not be there at that particular moment, but it has jurisdiction there. It goes on to say, when displayed on a wall or stage placed above, right, in addition to meeting halls or chapels, and an auditorium, meeting hall, or chapel, right? Well, a meeting hall, that's like the township hall, right? Or you go to county commissioner's office, or, county commissioner's meeting or whatever. I can see where that would be. And then chapels. Well, that's why they're in churches, because as far as the military is concerned, it's a chapel. And those are the only places that can have it. So if you see a gold fringe flag in a United States Conference of Catholic Bishops property, it's because the United States considers it a chapel. Well, my theory then is all these places with these gold fringe flags, because it goes all the way up to, the president's office. He has one. President-elect Donald John Trump. Donald J. Trump isn't president of anything. But in the Oval Office is a gold fringe flag. And so that's the top, and then all the rest are below, and, it's a hierarchical structure going up to Moses. And if you're going into a court that has a gold fringe flag and they're abusing their authority, well, who would you go complain to? Right? Because that's the government. The gold fringe flag represents the government. The Constitutional government's been suspended. We're under martial law. That's why the gold fringed flags are there. I'm saying, well, okay, then, you could go to the auditorium, the meeting hall, or the chapel. And I'm trying to go to the chapel or the church now because they have a gold fringed flag. And as it turns out, they were made an agent of the wartime government and given a commission in the Second World War. Now, this isn't just the Catholic Church, but they're the ones that wrote about it the most, right? And so they have a handbook of the National Catholic War Council, excuse me. You might want to write that down if you want to download it, because everything I show you is something you can find online without any problem. And there was a book written on the subject called American Catholics in the War, right? National War Council, 1917, 1921. The name of the book may be, what is this other thing here we just saw? The United States in World War I, right? So, but by Googling National War Council, National Catholic War Council, you could find these things, right? If you hear a siren going by, hey, I live close to a main road and sounds like it's an ambulance. And they also put out this bulletin. And because I don't have time to go through all this stuff, I'm just to show you, it wasn't just the Catholics. They're good enough to tell you that other people did it. Right? These are bodies that got commissions from the Department of Defense. At the time, we called the War Department. And this commission, successfully coordinated the heads and representatives of many social welfare organizations. I was talking about the Catholic body, the National War Council. The Catholic body in this respect was like the national government, and like other religious denominations. The government showed how to answer the problem by creating the National Commission on Training Camp Activities of the Army and Navy. This commission successfully coordinated the heads and representatives of many social and welfare organizations. So it wasn't the church going. The church created another organization, which was a public charity, in the case of the United States now, called the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops, USCCB, but at the time called the National Catholic War Council. And the Protestants did the same thing. They created one called the Wartime Commission of Federal Council of Churches. And it included the Unitarians and the Universalists, whoever they are. I mean, there's just too many to pick from. And the Jews did the same thing with the Jewish Welfare Board. Right? The Catholics did it with the National War Council, Catholic War Council. So these aren't the church, per se. They are civic organizations set up as charities run by the churches, that were given a commission by the federal wartime government, which is in power today, it was then, still is, and they still have their commission. So they have an end to the wartime government. That's all I'm trying to say, right? That they don't, the churches don't know they have this power, man. If they did, the world wouldn't be running this way, because we should be able to go to the church and give our petition to petition the government. Because the government isn't the Congress. None of those people have an oath of office. There is nobody in the judicial branch of the federal government. The people claiming to be a judge didn't take a proper oath of office. They all took oaths of office that have a unconstitutional religious test of "so help me God." And then the president, he needs to take two oaths of office. The one that's in Article 2 and the one that satisfies Article 6, which says it has to support the Constitution. And his oath in Article 2 protects and defends, but it doesn't support. So he would have to take two oaths of office. So if they can keep Donald John Trump from doing that in his full legal name, well, then he's not the President of the United States. He doesn't have any authority. And as an enlisted member of the United States who's taken an oath to follow the orders of the President of the United States, I really would wish that he would fill his office. That's where we're headed with this. So, the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops isn't the church through the Pope of Rome. It's not the Catholic Church in the United States. It's the Catholic Church of the United States. Does that make any sense to you? Let it sink in for a bit. I know it might take a while to, to me, this is all second nature right now. I've been talking about it for months or years, right? But I know if you ever heard it for the first time, it's a real slap in the face. But again, write down Liber, Lieber, Liber Code. Google it. Go look at the second article. It'll tell you once martial law has been declared that, unless these things have happened, it's still going on. And then go look at the sixth article, and it says that during the time of martial law, they shut down the legislature. So I'm going to show you the proof of that. Proof of these things in just a second, but I'm trying to show you that what I believe is why church militant, we need to be going to the church, and because you're so involved in the Catholic Church, which is the head of all this stuff, because it's the oldest institution on the face of the earth, it does have the answers. It's just the people we're talking to aren't, they're the counter trolls, or they know what they've been told. Right? Now, part of all this then is this simple fact that, let's see, one of these was, not that one, this one here. I think it's page 50. Formation of diocesan war councils. So, of course, it's hierarchical structure, right? First at the top with the archbishops as metropolitans. Then they had a bunch of all the bishops involved. And all the bishops involved at the local level form a diocesan war council, in which the head of the war council is the diocesan bishop. The head of the diocesan war council is, of course, the bishop of the diocese. So you don't want to go to him as a bishop of a diocese to get something done. You want to go to him as the head of the diocesan war council. We need him in his war hat. Right? We're church militant. We're at war with the devil. You have all this power to use if we just get him to put the right hat on. Because they do have a gold fringed flag, and it does go all the way to the president. And along the way, it has, other stops that are built into it. Okay, so let me show you what I sent to Church Militant. This may be the easiest way, and then we'll just go look at these facts as they come up, right? This is the first one I sent to them. This is just back on last Sunday, so they haven't had that much time to answer, but, I'm impatient. And because I have a bully pulpit of doing videos, I decided, well, this is the next way I'll try. I'm not going to write you another email. I'll do a video about you. So to use USCCB as an agent in the United States for petitioning of grievances. That's my theory based on the fact that the USCCB is commissioned by the War Department of the military. In fact, I need to read one little thing real quick. Yeah, before I get to that email, just to show that this is a bulletin that was put out by the National Catholic War Conference, and close. It's a letter from the Navy War Department, Washington, March 31st, 1919, to the Navy Department, or from Navy Department to the National Catholic War Council. The department desires to express its gratitude on the officers and men of the United States Navy, of the officers and men of the United States Navy, for all the many good things the National Catholic War Council has done for them during the World War. That war has never ended, by the way. There is no peace treaty. The efficiency of your organization has been well matched by the constant desire of the individual worker to serve the men to the best of his or her ability. This helpfulness and efficiency has proven a powerful aid to the contentment of the fighting spirit in the Navy. The department is desirous that your excellent work be continued and that the Navy service, right, continued, and that the Navy service, whether the country is at peace or at war, have the benefit of your splendid cooperation. There is very constant need for your services. Signed, Franklin D. Roosevelt, Acting Secretary of the Navy. who then was the president during World War II. Right? So he's writing this to this council, right? The Navy Department's writing this council and saying that we want you to be here in peace afterwards. I'm sure that he wrote the same letter to the Jews, he wrote the same letter to the Protestants, and therefore they all still have their commissions. And I, as a veteran, and this is a whole other subject off the base of this, but it's, a subject that I've done many videos on. If you're a veteran, you're still in the military. Unless you can go produce an order, separation order, right? Administrative separation order that separates you from the care and custody of the military, then you're still in. Because they didn't release you. They just put you into some other status. So, if the idea is that these entities are supposed to be working with the servicemen, well, then here you are. I'm a serviceman, and I want to use you to report in about the shit that's happening domestically during this time of war. Whether it's through the Civil War, which never ended, or the World Wars, which never ended, or any particular ongoing armed conflict, which never ends. They're all wars. And so I was bringing this to the attention of the church militant. All right, so like it or not, President Lincoln declared martial law, and that order has never been rescinded. If you go and you look at the Lieber Code, right, that was written by Lincoln, or for Lincoln, at the time of the war, and it says it. Article 2. For more than the briefest outlines require a set of facts and documents I will be glad to share, right? If so, send an email. I just, I'll just give you a few things to think about. So in 1917, Wilson declared war on, it was actually on the Imperial Government of Germany, right? So whatever that name is, whatever's in the war decree, now you need to go find a peace treaty that says that that is what they declared, that peace has been declared with. And there isn't one. Right? These are proper names of things. Whatever you said you went to war with, that's what we need to go to peace with, or, well, then we're not at peace. We're still at war. And there is no peace treaty for peace with the national or the German imperial government or whatever the hell the name was. The archbishops of the Catholic Church in the United States, right, legally pledged the Catholic Church. So they wrote a pledge. That's what all these books are about, right? That they actually wrote a pledge to President Wilson, pledging the service of the United States to the government, or of the Catholic Church in the United States, to the service of the government of the United States. And so, then the Catholic Church in the United States created an offspring called that's the Catholic Church in the United States, or of the United States, excuse me. It's part of the government. It's got a gold fringed flag. And the people, the service president of the government, or the written pledge was delivered by Cardinal Gibbons to President Wilson, so it was signed, sealed, and delivered. Promise. What? Well, Wilson accepted his offer. He sent a letter back accepting their offer. So there's a contract. And now they're going to, set up the secular nonprofit creation of the church, which is the thing called the National Council on Catholic, or National Catholic War Council, which is now the USCCB. There you are. Right? They created this National Catholic War Council. And that was the seed, and from there it made all this other stuff. Right? You can read about it here. That's what the books are. American Catholics in the War. Google it. So the USCCB today is United States Bishops Secular War Council. And every entity under the USCCB, which is anything that's in the official Catholic directory, which is this whole book of all this property and whatever it is that the church, that the USCCB claims under its group determination letter that it got from the IRS. Right? So all these other entities, they don't have their own EIN number. They're all working under the USCCB's EIN number. And the USCCB is a 501c3, but it's a public charity. I mean, that's what this letter shows, right? Where I think of a lot of these places that say that they're churches, Protestant churches, they didn't do it as a public charity. They did it as a private foundation. And so, they didn't do it as a church. They did it for their own welfare. And so they should reconsider what they did and go back and say, well, no, we're either going to do it as a church, become a 501c3 as a church, and we'll look at the letter that the United States Council of Catholic Bishops gets from the IRS, or, just redo it and become an apostolic association so that, in either case, everybody could take advantage of the nonprofit, non-tax status if these entities were properly construed and then they had your name in there as being a member, because they're just voluntary associations of people. Anyways, evidence of this ongoing relationship is Gold Fringed Flag, right? You see a flag in the church, well, then they have something to do with the government, right? It's the United States Army symbol of our nation, AR 840-10, I already told you about it. Protestant churches and Jewish organizations cut the same deal. Hey, all that stuff is in this book about the American Council for the American Catholics in war, or in this thing that was called what was this thing called here? Sorry, man. Handbook of the National Catholic War Council. If you want to get more information, go read those. Right? But for right now, we got to move on. Where's my email? It's way over here. Cheapers. I got too many things open. Sorry. Here we are. Okay, so that's the evidence. All right, so Army offices, military courtrooms. Any courtroom you walk into, got a Gold Fringed Flag. Hey, it's a military courtroom. Don't let them tell you different. And that's what there would be under martial law. They would be military courtrooms. And there would be two different kinds of military courts. There would be military courts for the unprotected belligerents that aren't protected by a peace treaty. And there would be protected persons, which would include people that were in the military who would be given identification under the Geneva Convention. And that's what they're withholding from us right now. As a veteran, because I am still in the military, the DOD has a duty to give me this ID card. And this ID card not only proves that I'm in the military still, it is the access or the proof that you need to claim all of the benefits you have from the DOD that come to you other than from the VA, which are quite numerous, and I've done videos on them. I'm afraid I just don't have time to talk about it right now. But yeah, it's all true, right? And so any USCCB bishop is also an agent of the government of the United States. It makes the pastor or chaplain the clerk or the agent, right? Because this hierarchical structure goes up, up, up. But the guy sitting as the bishop of any Catholic diocese is the leader of the Diocesan War Council. And that's the hat we need them in, whatever they're calling that today. So please go ask a bishop if you know one. See, these people won't talk to me. I may have emailed them a few too many times, and they tend to run away. They run from the face of man because they've been caught, not doing things right. It doesn't mean that all of them are bad. It means the ones that you're contacting may be bad. That's why they're there. So you contact a liar. They just tell you a lie and make it go away. So anyways, you cannot petition Congress, judicial, executive branches because none of those people have a qualified oath of office. The United States is under military rule. Has been since 1871. That's what I was trying to tell them, right? This is the truth. So I don't need to read you any more of their letter, but that's what I was telling them. And so what has really happened now, when you look at where we are, because there is no Congress, there is no judicial branch, there really isn't any administrative branch. There's just a war branch. It's the government. It's no different than Rome was in the 300s when the Catholic Church joined it then. Right? Well, that's what's happened now. But it's not just the Catholic Church. Now it's the Protestant churches and the Jews. They've all joined the government, and they have an agreement with the wartime government. And so since, Nancy Pelosi and crew are not the government. They don't have a proper oath of office. We don't really need them anyways. They can just leave. I want to leave it the way it is. I just want this wartime government to recognize I'm a veteran of the military, and therefore I'm part of the government. Right? I'm the peacemaker that should be able to call on the army to come and satisfy, take away the belligerent that just won't come to peace. But, first I give them a chance to be peaceful. Just say you can't do that anymore. So you tell an attorney, look, you can't do this, or I'm going to have you arrested. When they send you paperwork where they're not using your name and they're saying they're going to take you to court and take your property. You say, look, this is a simulated legal process. You're going to have to stop, or I'm going to have you arrested. And the way you would do that is by calling in the military. There you are, right? Something just came to me. I don't know if I showed this earlier. When I first started this video, if you're still here, a long time ago, seems like, I was talking about attorney certification, certificate of good standing, and getting one for the attorney of the court case that anybody's involved in, but especially this one where they're the plaintiff of the attorney for the people at the parish that believe they have a court case where they've been changed from a person to a thing. That thing is now owned by the attorney. That guy, right? The Supreme Court clerk is keeper of the role of attorneys admitted to practice law in the state. A certification of admission to practice, a certificate of good standing, is available to active and voluntary inactive members of the State Bar of Michigan who have paid their annual membership dues, yada, yada, yada. So if you want to know somebody is, they say that they're an attorney, but you want the proof, you want to get their certificate of good standing. So I really urge Church Militant to tell the parishioners to go to their attorney for the plaintiff and say, we want a copy of your certificate of good standing, aka from the roll of attorneys kept by the Supreme Court clerk of the United States. Right, this on the Michigan court website. One court of justice. Please just go Google Noahide laws and look at what they are. One of the 7 Noahide laws is to have courts of justice. Michigan's in compliance. They're going to have one of them. And that's where they're going to send you to. Or through. But they're Talmudic law courts, and it's okay to cheat you at law or business if you're not a Jew, if you're not one of them. So now it's not necessarily Jews, it's attorneys, right? It's a different class of Pharisee, but it's still Pharisees. Pharisees and scribes. Pharisees being the scribes that became the judges, and the scribes being the attorneys, as we call them today. And they were all woed in the Bible, and they're woed again. And none of them have a proper oath of office. That's the truth. Okay, I got to regroup again. Hang on here. We're going to look at some invalid oaths of office. Hang on. Okay. It's always good to start with the law. So this is Title 4 United States Code, right, on flag, seal, seat of government, and the states. And it says in 101, oath by members of legislatures and officers. Every member of the state legislature and every executive or judicial officer of a state shall, before he proceed to execute the duties of his office, take an oath in the following form, to wit, I, A.B., do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States. Period. Nothing more, nothing less. Right? Then it goes on to say who can administer. Okay, so this is the federal government saying this is what you're going to do. Now, they didn't say you could add anything else to this. They said this is what you need to do, this right here. All right? If you want to have something different, well, then have a separate oath, I guess. But the federal government wants you to do this. Swear to this. Not anything else, nothing added, nothing else needed. Swear to this. Okay. Let's see what we do. Now, knowing that, let's go look at what's in the state constitution for Michigan, where it says, this is the oath right here. I do solemnly swear I'll support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state, and I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of according to the best of my ability. Now, technically that's unconstitutional because it didn't, to the federal Constitution. It may be fine for this, right? But to the federal Constitution, you can't submit this. You have to do what they told you to do and submit one this way. Where did it go? Sorry. This way. Like this. I do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, period. Right? Your full legal name, subscribe it, you're done. Have it witnessed by whoever can witness it, file it in the records, and you're done. Anything more didn't satisfy what was asked for by the Congress under Title IV of the United States Code, which I believe is positive law. I believe Title IV is positive law, which means the whole title is the law, not just the individual statutes. Okay, but in any event, the way they showed it here was Constitution of the United States. Well, that's the same as what we just looked at. And the Constitution of the state, which is all lowercase, which really means that the Constitution of the United States is also the Constitution of Michigan. Right? It's not a separate constitution. It's the same constitution. It's just the constitution of two different places. And now they're going to put in the office that they're doing. Well, let's look and see how they really do this when they file these papers. So here's one that's supposed to be State of Michigan, County of Kent. Well, again, it should be Kent County, Michigan is the proper venue. Right? This is an improper venue. Where it says Constitution of the United States, which that looks okay. And then Constitution of this state, which doesn't look okay because now it's a proper term of some kind. It isn't, just common words. This is a different constitution than this constitution, right? Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state are two different constitutions, where what was said in this here was that it was the same constitution, right? Lowercase Constitution of the state. Isn't that grammar? I mean, isn't somebody who's the grammar expert at Church Militant? Isn't that what that means? And then it says they're going to be, so forgetting that, there's a mistake. Now we're going to continue on, add some more words that aren't supposed to be there, like the office of Kent County Clerk, Register of Deeds, but this was done in the County of Kent, right? In and for County of Kent, State of Michigan. Well, that ain't supposed to be in there. That was added. It's not in the Constitution. And so this is the person that's supposed to be the clerk of the Kent County. Lisa, two last names, whoever the hell you are. Right? Sworn subscribed by Mary, didn't use her middle name, the former county clerk. Right? These are two inferior names that don't properly identify the individual taking the oath of office, because what Title IV said is IAB. Put your name in. Well, I didn't put my name in. So this is, how many different ways can I say it's wrong? It has no value. And yet this woman would tell you that she's the clerk of Kent County and she's going to have your ass arrested and call the sheriff or whatever the hell it is, because you're disturbing her peace. Now here's the person that's supposed to be my town or my district commissioner, county commissioner, right? County commissioner for District 4. Got the same type of errors because, hey, it's the same county. Did the same thing again. And Diane, I know, has a middle name, and it's not on here. Right? County of Kent, State of Michigan. That's not a political subdivision of, the state of Michigan. It would be Kent County. And now the lady above, who was having her oath witness, now she's doing the witnessing in Kent County, Michigan. But she said that she was the clerk of County of Kent. I don't believe it's any good either. Here's a guy that's pretending that he's going to be a prosecutor. And this guy's going to put people in jail for having marijuana. Right? Herb, as God called it on the first page of the Bible, this man will put you in jail for having it. And he's going to do it in the wrong venue, state of Michigan, county of whatever. This happens to be Kalkaska. And he's going to do solemnly swear and affirm. Well, again, he didn't comply with the fourth article. There's no name, so faulty. And then he used a middle initial for his name, which is faulty. It doesn't comply with the Real ID Act. Sworn and subscribed before somebody else using the middle initial. Faulty name. These are not people's identities. But, at least they were good enough to file their fraud into a record of the Kalkaska County Clerk. So the evidence of their bad faith deed is right here. Now, here's the thing. See, this is all done in bad faith, right? Because, they're swearing. If you swear, you're swearing to God. Whether you said it or not, you swear to God. You affirm if you're not going to swear to God. And he swore to God. So, they violated their oath to God. It's a sin, right? The church would have... So here's a guy with a gold fringed flag that's going to prosecute the gold fringed flag using a false identity before a judge when you got there who didn't use their proper identity. These people have committed acts of bad faith. The church has jurisdiction in matters of faith. So says the Supreme Court of the United States. And the DOD has a board of chaplains called the United States or the Armed Forces Chaplains Board that has 6 generals sitting on it, generals or admirals. They're all chaplains. Well, it's a court-martial board. Although they say they're not a court-martial board. They could be, but it says on there that they have, jurisdiction. This is on the United States, Armed Forces Chaplains Board website, which you can find by just Googling Armed Forces Chaplain Board and read what it says about them. That the Secretary of Defense is giving them jurisdiction in matters of religion, ethics, and morals. Well, it's immoral to lie in a frickin' oath of office. Especially when you're an entity that that gave a pledge to the President of the United States to defend the Constitution. No different than I did. So they have a duty. Another one, wrong venue, right? Just more stuff differently done. But no name, right? Fourth, you want to comply with federal law? And your name. And that isn't what they're filing. So you wouldn't have to go any further to say it's an unconstitutional oath of office. But they went ahead and filed it anyways. Well, so now not only is it unconstitutional, now it's a counterfeit. Right? These people are submitted counterfeit oaths of office to usurp the authority of the United States. More. I just want to get to my favorite of all. Right? I mean, this is just such a slap in the face that this is the county of Branch County. A guy says he's going to be the probate judge, but hey, he doesn't have his name there, so I don't care what else you say. It's wrong. Not full legal name, right? Middle initial. Can't use that. It's not part of your full legal name. You can't get on an airplane with that name. We'll look at the Real ID Act in just a second, to show you where it says it. These kind of things. But this is my favorite. Right? This is supposed to be in Michigan, and this looks like a seal of the state of Michigan. But this is the moose, and the moose is looking over his back. He's not looking at the shield, like the elk. So this isn't the seal of the state of Michigan. It's a counterfeit. Right? The moose looking over his back. What a joke. And it goes on and on and on. So these are all wrong. What they did in Congress, and they did it just most recently on January 17, 2019, is when they shut down for the day and took an adjournment, it said that they would reconvene on the 18th, which would be the next day. Well, before the next day, they went ahead and they said, we're going to submit all this paperwork about these oaths of office into the congressional record. Is how it is made to look. The oath required by the 6th article, so that's what they say they're going to comply with, is the 6th article If you read the 6th article, it says you need to take an oath to support the Constitution, and it says you have to, the oath cannot have any religious test. And and they say that the one they're doing is provided by some section of an act from this date, which is 23 Stat 22. But Congress 23 doesn't go to year 1984. It goes to like, 19 or 1830s or something. So this is, what can I say? It's a lie. It's an error. And once it's been pointed out and they don't fix it, it becomes a lie. It's just an omission, right? They're lying. And then here's the oath they take, which you can find in 5 U.S.C. 3331, which is the oath that pretty much everybody who claims to be taking an office under the United States is doing. And you can see in this oath it has "so help me God," so it's unconstitutional. I don't care that it's the oath they're taking, it's unconstitutional, you have no authority. Oh, and by the way, right, did you put your name in where it says IAB? Because they have it here, but, on the document, because these are supposed to be subscribed to a person, filed in duplicate in the clerk of the House of Representatives to the following members. Then these are the names that they used. You got people using middle initials. You got people putting, where are the guys with their nickname in a frickin', in quotes, right? This is supposed to be the guy's name. This is the name that's on his oath of office. This guy's name on his oath of office, C.A. Dutch Rupsberger. Rupersberger. Well, I'm afraid not. None of these people have a proper oath of office. They're just usurping the authority of the United States. And not only are they pretending to be members of Congress, after they pretended that, then they pretended now that we're members of Congress, we'll take another oath to get classified state secrets of the United States. So, these are all those people again. I see Ralph Lee Abraham. He actually it could be his full legal name. He may have actually done it right. I don't know where he is on here, but, by and large, though, none of these other people have. And, well, I've pointed this out to all sorts of people in the government, in the churches. It hasn't done any good yet, so now I'm going to, to the people like the church militant. Now, this, these simulated legal processes, because really that's all these are, right? This is a simulated legal process done under color of law. It's made to look to be lawful, like it's supposed to have some legal value, but it doesn't. And by doing this, the people that now claim this authority are going to be depriving you of your of your civil rights and liberties and constitutional protections. Well, that's not the only place it happened. It happened in the church too, where on a certificate of, here's my certificate of baptism, right? This wasn't done in a church, it was done in a worship site. If you look at the Catholic Church and you look at their sacraments of baptism, Eucharist, confirmation, so forth, they're supposed to be done in a parish church. Well, this isn't a parish church, it's a worship site. Right? It's not a true parish church. And they didn't use my mom and dad's full legal name. See here, they don't have any middle initials. They will in a minute. The priest used a middle initial, so that isn't his full legal name. The sponsors didn't use their full legal name, but at least they used my full legal name. Right? Robert Allen Bertluski. That's the dude that was baptized. Maybe invalid, but not illicit, right? I'm baptized. It just isn't properly recognized by the church because it wasn't done the way that they wanted to. But it doesn't mean I can't get a dispensation to have that shit fixed, which is another thing I'm trying to do. It says when I was confirmed, I had First Communion, da-da-da. All right, here's mine for, First Communion or First Eucharist, I believe. That's why it's like, well, why isn't that on here? Unless First Communion doesn't mean First Eucharist. But I have a certificate for it. Now my mom and dad have a middle initial. I still have the same name. They have a middle initial. It was done in a worship site. by another guy using a fictitious name. Right? Jeepers. That was done improperly. And I got a certificate of confirmation, which, hey, now I should have became a member of the church, and the Church of Christ under Canon 96 constituted a member in the Church of Christ and a person in it. But that hasn't happened because your records never leave the parish. See, they're still in the parish where they should actually be in Rome, or at least in the Diocese of Rome, small case D diocese. But instead they're hid in a USCCB worship center, which isn't the church from Rome. It's the Catholic Church of the United States. They're not letting your paperwork go to Rome. So mom and dad got a middle initial. I got my confirmation name with my saint's name, done by a bishop that has a middle name that didn't use it, in front of a sponsor that had a middle name that didn't use it. I say middle name, it's really part of your given name. Like mine's Robert Allen. Don't ever say you have a middle name. You just have a given name. So Robert Allen Ritluski. So now if they have blocks and they say first name for the block, put Robert Allen in it. Middle name, well, I don't have one. Last name, okay, put Ritluski. If it's backwards, they say last name, first name, middle name. Ritluski, Robert Allen for middle name, no middle name. What's your middle initial? I don't have one. Right? You don't have one. It's part of your legal name, but they want you to believe it's your middle name so they can take it for you. This is what Social Security does. Social Security says they don't consider your middle name part of your legal name. So when mom and dad filled out the form for Social Security, and they put your Allen in the middle name box, well, Social Security is not going to consider that part of your name, and it clouds the title to your property. That's what they're doing here. They're clouding the title to their property. Now, something I didn't know till yesterday, this guy named Bishop James Hickey eventually became a cardinal. Which, there are very few bishops to become cardinals. It's, there's, in the United States right now, there's 300 and some bishops and there's 15 cardinals. And most of those cardinals are, in their 80s, heading into 90. So there are very few of them. But he ended up becoming one. And this is the year that he became a bishop. So there's a sign of the times for me from the Lord Jesus Christ. Thank you very much. I'm on the right path. Pointing this stuff out that this shit is wrong. And so I'm taking these errors not only to places like Church Militant, but places called minor basilicas, which I'll get into in another video, because they have certain powers that the place that's called a worship center doesn't have, because a worship center really isn't a Catholic parish. It's a worship center. If it was a Catholic parish, that's what it would say. But it doesn't. It says it's St. Joseph Worship Center. Or worship site, not even center. And that's because the Catholic Church in the United States is a mission church. It wasn't set up like the churches in the old country. Now, I'm sure if you're a Protestant, you're still listening to this. I mean, they're probably all left by now. Probably drove them crazy. They're getting their pitchforks and headed to my house. But, I'm not going to blame the Pope for everything. But I will say there's lots of things going wrong in the church. And nevertheless, they have this authority because they do have a flag of the United States at the USCCB worship site. Well, that's your doorway, I believe, to get into the military government at this time. Okay. Well, I pointed out a number of other things to Church Militant other than that. I don't know if I'm going to go to all the paperwork. These things just start taking too long after a while. What else did I tell them? Oh, I gave them examples of counterfeits oath of office. That's what I just showed you. But I do want to show you this other one. Oop, nope, not that one. Well, that one's okay too. This is one I sent to the Armed Forces Chaplains Board. What would I point out to them? Oh, the same thing. That number one, my DD 214 had errors. Number two, the people in the Congress, the thing we just looked at, they didn't take their proper oath of office. And that there is a law written that tells everybody what they're supposed to do. And it was the first law passed after the Constitution was ratified. It's called 1 Stat 23, but the name of the act is an act to regulate the time and manner of administering certain oaths, in which it says the oath or affirmation required by the 6th Article of the Constitution of the United States shall be administered in the following form. I, A, B, do solemnly swear or affirm I will support the Constitution of the United States. Well, hell, that's what Title 4 says. It says the same thing. So it's not a mistake. That's what you need to do to satisfy the 6th Article of the Constitution. And until you've done it, it doesn't matter what else you've done. You can't claim the office. And none of these people have. Not at... Now, this is the 6th article, and we should look at that too, I guess, while we're here, because, you know, I don't know how often people go look at this stuff. But ARTI... I can barely see anymore. I don't know if I spelled that right or not. That's my excuse. I can't read. I can't see very well. So where's one to look at the easiest to find? Well, let's just go to your 6th article of the Constitution. There's got to be somewhere in here. There we go. Here's the text. The senators and representatives, right, that'd be the Congress, before mentioned, and members of the several state legislatures. Well, that would be the Senate and the legislature of, like, the state of Michigan. And all executive or judicial officers. Well, that would be everybody in the executive branch, including the president. And judicial officers, or actually people that should be in the judicial branch of the government, both of the United States and of the several states. So, you know, not just national, but state courts, state officers, state police, right? The governor, state, shall be bound by oath or affirmation to support the Constitution, but no religious text shall ever be required as a qualification of any office of public trust or public trust under the United States. And of course, the oath they take has a religious test. It says, so help me God. And the oath of the 2nd article that the president takes doesn't support the Constitution. So he, you know, what's he got to do? Oh my God, he can't be president. Well, sure he can. He just has to take the other oath. This one. Right? He needs to do 2 oaths. Using his full legal name of Donald John Trump. Otherwise, he has not complied with this thing called it's in 6 CFR, which is the Code of Federal Regulations, Part 37, Real ID, Driver's License and Identification Cards Act, which says that subparts A through E of this part apply to the states and U.S. territories that choose to issue driver's licenses and identification cards, like a state ID, that can be accepted by federal agencies for official purposes, like getting on an airplane. So if you want it to be used by a federal agency for an official purpose, you need to be identified by your full legal name, which they go on to define, right, what that is. And we'll just look at where it says these things. Where does it say it first? Full legal name means individual's first name, middle names, and last name, or surname, without use of initials or nicknames. You see a nickname, you see an initial, that's not their full legal name, and it can't be used for official purposes with the federal government. And I have to believe taking an oath to satisfy the 4th article or the Title 4 of the United States Code is official. Full legal name, except permitted name on the face of the license, must be the same as name on the source documents presented. So they're talking about the thing that, you know, like on your birth certificate, which nobody has. They have certificates of live birth, and they may call them birth certificates, but it's not, you know, it's called a certificate of live birth, and they ask for a birth certificate if you were to read this whole act. Unless the state permits the applicant to establish name other than the name of appears in the source document, right? Then they have to do something else and put it somewhere else. Anyways, the way you know that you have an ID that's compliant to this act, it has a little gold star up in the right-hand corner, right? And it has your full legal name on it, which is your first name, middle name, last name, no initials, no nicknames. And that ain't what they're doing. Alrighty, hang on here. We're just about done. Hang on, though. Whew, okay, I'm about ready to end this thing. God, it's going on 2 hours. That's a long time, so I have much more to say, but we're going to leave it with these last couple things. So I had sent Church Militant, I sent you 3 different emails in the course of just a couple days. So one of the other ones had to do with these counterfeit oaths, and one we'll look at in a minute besides the one from Congress that we already looked at is the one by the governor of the state of Michigan. And then I sent you another one that said that there were people in Congress that say that, this country, which right now is under martial law, is actually governed by the Noahide laws, right? The 7 laws of Noah, which are the basis of Talmudic law. You go do your own research. So let's look at them there things. Let's start with the Noahide laws. So this is, when you see this blue thing here, this means this is a certified copy from the Superintendent of Documents. He says this is what's on the records of the United States Government Printing Office, right? It's like having a sealed copy from a court saying that this is a, sealed copy from a court case. A proclamation, it's 96 stat, 2721. Witness thereof, I have hereunto set my hand, the 3rd day of April, blah, 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 proclamation 4921, April 3rd, 1982, by the President of the United States of America, not the President of the United States. Now you go read 3 USC United States Code 19 about qualifying to be the President. It's qualifying to be the President of the United States. But now, Ron Reagan is acting as President of the United States of America. Put his other hat on, making a proclamation, where he says that amid the distractions and concerns of our daily existence, it appropriate Americans pause. Americans, didn't say United States, citizens of the United States, Americans, right? Because that's who they are. These are not people in the United States. These are people of the United States of America, King George's people. Pause and reflect upon the ancient ethic principles, moral values, which are the foundation of our character as a nation. Oh, look at that. And I don't want to read this whole thing, but he can say here, he has provided a vivid example of the eternal validity of the 7 Noahide laws, a moral code for all of us, regardless of religious faith, may he go from strength to strength. Well, he's advocating this thing that these Noahide laws. And you say, well, yeah, that doesn't really say that, we're using it for the law. But nevertheless, Ron Reagan, talking about ancient stuff and being the foundation of the character of our nation. And I thought the foundation of the character of our nation was the Constitution. Or, the Declaration of Independence. But in the United States of America, no, it's the Noahide laws. The 7 Noahide laws, of which one is to have courts of justice, which Michigan complied, and they have one. There shall be one court of justice. And it goes on to say what it consists of. It consists of a Supreme Court, appeals court, a circuit court, district court. Da-da-da. So now here's 105 Stat 44. 102nd Congress, 1991. Whereas this is a joint resolution to designate March 26, 1991 as Education Day. Whereas Congress recognizes a historical tradition and ethical values and principles which are the basis of civilized society upon our great nation was founded. Hey, that sounds a lot like what Ron said. Values and principles which are the basis of civilized society and upon which our great nation was founded. Again, we were founded on the Constitution. If anything, you want to say we're founded on anything religious, it was the Christian Bible, because that's what the deal was when the king gave up the charters in the first place. But here we go. Whereas these ethical values and principles have been the bedrock of society, from the dawn of civilization when they were known as the 7 Noahide laws. Congress is saying that we're governed by the 7 Noahide laws. At least America is, the United States of America, not necessarily the United States. And as I showed, they have you trapped in the United States of America because when you get a passport, it's United States of America. It's not the United States. And this thing here was signed by, I think it was signed by the president, wasn't it? President requested to issue a proclamation, which he did. It just has a different number on it. I didn't pull all that stuff off. But there you go. I mean, you can look these up yourself, right? Public Law 102.14 of March 20, 1991, right? 105, Stat 44. So like where 1 Stat 23 says the oath of office you need to take to satisfy the 6th article, 105 Stat 44 says that whoever these people are for Congress believe that we're governed by the 7 Noahide laws. Iran did the same thing in 96 Stat, 96 Congress, 2721, as a proclamation. Okay, so there are those. And then one other thing I had sent was that the United States is in default, owes Michigan protection, Republican form of government. And I was saying this because, well, it's not that long. When I wrote this the first time, I was writing to the director of the Office of Management and Budget, because per a particular law, 31 USC, he has the authority to settle debts of the United States. And I'm saying this is a debt of the United States. It's in default. Director, hang on just a minute, please. Okay, Director of the state of Michigan has been invaded. One of the invaders, Gretchen Whitmer, executed a counterfeit oath of office and falsely claims to be elected governor of the state of Michigan. By this person's felony, Michigan is denied a Republican form of government, which is a government that's, consists of people that were elected to certain offices. Well, that didn't happen. You are the proper officer under 31 U.S.C. 3702, authority to settle claims to settle this debt. The document filed as an oath of office with the Michigan Dept of State, which is the seal on it, by the belligerent, that'd be Gretchen Whitmer, evidences election fraud and willful suppression of the Republican form of government for Michigan. I've included a copy of the oath of office as filed for your inspection. Gretchen Whitmer is not the full legal name and is not recognized by federal agencies as person's identification for official purposes. Well, if you've watched this video, you should know that now. If she's got a middle name, what she does, it's Esther, that had to be on there. It isn't. Gretchen Whitmer does not comply with Title VI Code of Federal Regulations, Part 37. I showed you. First name, middle name, last name, no nicknames, no initials. Gretchen Whitmer's full legal name is Gretchen Esther Whitmer. That's what's on her driver's license, right? So the name on your driver's license, if you have a real ID compliant ID, is the name that's your full legal name. So if you ever have to go to court and the cop's on the stand, ask the cop to pull out his driver's license and read his name, and the judge will call for dismissal, because he won't let him read his full legal name in, because that isn't the name on any of the other paperwork. I'm sure that would work, but I don't believe in waiting that long to try to get something done. And I'm not trying to get shit dismissed. I try to get him arrested. So anyways, that's what I'm trying to do here. I want to have this woman arrested for this counterfeit oath. Gretchen Whitmer's full legal name is Gretchen Esther Whitmer, and her full legal name is required on her oath of office if she is to claim any authority under the United States, right? Because it needs to be used for all official purposes with the federal government. And Title IV says you want to claim a state office, you're going to take this oath. Well, that's doing business with the federal government. So, let's go on. Gretchen Whitmer's counterfeit oath of office was administered by an improper public officer. According to the State Secretary of State website, the notary public cannot administer an oath of office to the governor of Michigan. That's the truth. The style of the oath that Gretchen Whitmer subscribed is inconsistent with the style of the oath of office in the Michigan Constitution of 1963, just like those other ones we looked at. Because the same reason, the phrase, uppercase Constitution of the state, that term is improper grammar for the oath intended by the state constitution, which mandates lowercase Constitution of the state. These phrases have completely different meanings and result in a counterfeit oath of office filed by a Jane Doe using a fictitious name, Gretchen Whitmer. It's really that simple. It's an act of bad faith. The church should be able to do something about this. As a result of the deceit of Gretchen Whitmer and her conspirators, because none of these other people have a proper oath of office, Michigan has been invaded and overrun by belligerents intent on using domestic violence and simulated legal process under color of law to embezzle the wealth of the people of Michigan and deny them their civil rights and liberties. Welcome to America. Director, it's your duty to settle debt in the United States owes to the state of Michigan, and I file this claim for settlement of the debt, capture the invaders, protect Michigan, restore Republican form of government. Well, of course they never answered. I had hoped they would, but I was going to do it anyways because this is what I do, right? I don't know how many pieces of paper like this I filed. 100, 200. That's what all these emails are. All right, these are me sending some kind of email bitching about something to somebody. And I think I counted yesterday. I went back and I looked like from the middle of January till now, like 45 or 50 of them. All right, so I try to send something to somebody every day complaining about the way things are. But back to the signed claim. So that's the claim. Now let's look at her oath of office, right? So here's that received and filed Michigan Dep of State. I do solemnly swear. What? It has to have what did it say? We should always just go look to make sure that we didn't forget. Remember where it is. Don't try to remember it. Just remember where it is and then go look at it when you need it. And it says IAB. Well, it don't say it here, so this is wrong. We don't need to go any further. And there's the proper term, Constitution of the state, indicating it's a different oath or a different Constitution than the Constitution of the state of Michigan, where it should just be saying, again, it's the same one. But none of this is what was said to satisfy this. This just said, swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States, period, right? She doesn't have that. As the governor, as Gretchen Whitmer. There's no full legal name. And this was done by somebody who's a notary public, and the law says notary publics can't do state officers, and then it lists the officers they can't do, and one's the governor. So it's a simulated legal process under color of law, filed into an official record, or as an official record, to claim authority under the United States. Well, then it's a freaking counterfeit. And she's a usurper, and she needs to go to a FEMA camp. Or cease and desist immediately. Stop disturbing the peace. And so that's where I'm headed with all this. And I'm using everything available to me. And my latest thing to try to use is going to be Church Militant or a similar place. And hey, I'm using one of my tools. Instead of writing another email to them, I'll do it by video. And so that's what I had to say today. I could never wrote all that, so I'm done. And if you're still here watching, you can see I'm really, into this, and I'm trying to do my best, and I really need you to donate. And if you watch a lot of my videos, you don't have any excuse not to donate. You may make one, but you don't have one. So I'm going to leave it at that. Have a great day. And someday we're going to get this all figured out, and it'll all be in the rearview mirror. Until then, we got to find a way to use the Gold Fringed Flag, which is the symbol of the government, to our advantage. And, I'm trying to do that with veterans through a particular way. And that'll just have to be the topic of another video. I'm going to leave it at that. Watch the other videos I did on it. You watch the videos I did in the last 4 or 5 months, you pretty much know all the things I'm talking about today. So, very good, guys. Have a great day. I'm done. See you now. Bye-bye.